Hey everyone, this is Josh from Muscle Shirt Productions, and my next movie review is Scream 3. Now, I will say that mostly everyone thinks that Scream 3 is the weakest in the franchise, and I'll admit that I didn't even like the movie when I first saw it, and that this Scream movie is the one that I've seen the least. So, with that in mind, I had to re-watch the movie for this review, and I have to say that I actually didn't mind it upon my most recent viewing. Now, obviously, this movie isn't perfect, and I'm aware of the many issues this movie had before and after the production. In this review, I'll first talk about the many problems this movie had, and then I'll finish the review with the positives. Before I can continue with the review, I must acknowledge the parallels of the real circumstances of the Columbine shootings and the Harvey Weinstein scandals in relation to this movie and its story threads. My heart and support goes out to the real life victims and their families, and I hope that all guilty parties get what they deserve. I will also do my best to discuss this movie based on its merit and nothing else. Mostly everyone knows about the original script from Scream 3, so I'll just gloss over it. Pretty much, the killers were going to be Billy and Stu fanatics, and that Stu had actually survived the events of Scream 1, and that he was pulling the strings from prison. The script had to be changed because of the Columbine High School incident back in 1999, and we got Aaron Kruger to take over the script from Kevin Williamson. Though we never got to see this version in a Scream movie, Kevin Williamson did use it as a premise for his show, The Following. No matter what we could have gotten or how the movie should have been, I'll do my best to see the movie for what it is and if it succeeded in what it was trying to do. The first con I have in this movie is a lack of blood and gore. Though the violence was toned down, it didn't really bother me because I don't just watch the Scream movies for violence. I also watch it for the characters, music, set pieces, meta humor, and the whodunit aspect. And with that being said, the lack of violence in Scream 3 isn't enough reason for me to hate the movie. Another con I have is Sydney's vision of her mother. I know it was a dream sequence, but it just wasn't scary to me, even when I first saw it as a teenager. I also didn't really like the scene where the characters kept running in or out of the house, especially how Tom died reading the script that was being faxed. The explosion was cool to see, but I thought it was pretty far fetched how it all had to happen. On a side note, I know that everyone makes fun of Courtney Cox's bangs in this movie, and I usually see the same meme of her hair, but after watching the movie again, it really isn't that bad. It was just that one scene. My biggest con in this movie is the voice changer. I know that it's used as a convenience for the killer, but Scream has always been known for their use of technology in their movies, and for them to just make up this device is ridiculous to me. And after the first scene with Cotton, none of the phone calls were suspenseful because I just knew it was the killer anyway. I know that it's a plot device and something different, and I know that it probably would have been harder to make the movie without it, but still, it just annoys the hell out of me. Especially because the killer has Maureen Prescott's voice, or something close to it, on there too. So you mean to tell me that they had that kind of technology back in 1995? My second biggest con in this movie is who the killer was. I was actually surprised that it was just one killer. I remember first watching the movie and waiting for the second one to appear. I know that Angelina was supposed to be the second killer, but that idea was scrapped. And I don't mind that this movie only has one killer. My problem with it is how it all came to be. Let me further explain. There is a scene where Gale finds his body, stabbed, and checks his pulse and says he's dead. I feel as though the line was inserted specifically for the audience, because we would have thought, wait a minute, this guy gets killed off screen? Yeah, right, I bet he's the killer. And then when he shows himself to Sydney, I totally forgot who he was until he told her his name. He also came across as whiny when he was talking to Sid. Here are some of the pros for Scream 3. The tone of this movie is obviously on the lighter side. and is the least serious movie in the franchise. Honestly, that never really bothered me, and it still didn't bother me even after my most recent viewing. This was something different about the movie that I actually didn't mind. The comedy also really shines in this movie, and there were a lot of funny lines, especially from Officer Wallace. Tyson also has another funny line in which he says that the killer might be an angry Stab fan because he killed off Randy in Stab 2. The meta humor is also very good. Allow me to further explain. With the many changes that had to be done to the script of this movie, I felt that this was the best course of action to take given the circumstances. Having the movie being set on a Hollywood set was also a good move in my opinion. Now, I'll admit, I'm always skeptical of the movie within a movie trope because sometimes they come off as pretentious, but I felt that Scream 3 handled it perfectly and added to the comedy. The cameos from Jay and Silent Bob and Carrie Fisher were also amusing, and it was nice to see Randy's cameo as well. The music is also good, and Marco Beltrami continued to make memorable music for Scream 3. I also like the soundtrack because it has more of a heavy rock feel, which fit perfectly with the late 90s era of music. The acting and characters were also very good, and I found all of them likable and amusing, except for Lance Henriksen's character, but that was the point. I know that everyone says that Sydney didn't get enough screen time in this movie, and honestly, I was fine with it because it made sense. After all Sydney has been through, why wouldn't she want to be a recluse? And the only reason why she shows up is because the killer knows where she is. I also liked how Dewey actually got to kill the killer for once, and I like that the movie ended with Dewey and Gale getting engaged because it helped complete their arc, at least for the time being. Some of the set pieces were also very good, like the beginning with Cotton, the scene with Sarah Darling hiding from Ghostface, and the final act in the mansion and its hidden rooms and passages was also creepy to see. Here are some of the scenes that I've had a change of heart on. One change of heart for me was the fact that they were making Stab 3 in Scream 3. I remember that always bugged me when I was younger. Like, wait a minute, if they made Stab 1 in Scream 2, then shouldn't they be making Stab 2 in Scream 3? But in John Milton's office, you could see a poster for Stab 2 in the background, and Stab 3, Return to Woodsboro, ties in well with the trilogy aspect of Scream 3. Probably the biggest change of heart for me was how the killer's motives in this movie tied into the original. It is revealed that Maureen Prescott was an actress in Hollywood when she was younger, and it is alleged that she may have been sexually assaulted when she was there. She gave birth to a son, and then she gave him up and started a new life. He grows up and tracks her down, but Maureen wants nothing to do with him. So then he helps kill her and convinces Billy to go on a murder spree. Most people say that Roman being the brains behind the whole operation of killing Sydney's mom takes away from everything that Billy and Stu did, but after rewatching Scream 3, I'm going to have to controversially disagree. Mainly because Billy and Stu did most of the work, and Roman even says that he just supplied Billy with the motivation and gave him some pointers. So the way I see it, Billy always had an idea of what he wanted to do, and Roman just helped him come up with a more thorough plan. In conclusion, despite all of the changes and controversy surrounding Scream 3, I have to ask myself a few things. Number 1, was the movie lighter in tone as intended after the changes? Yes. Number 2, was the movie funnier as intended after the changes? Yes. Number 3, was the movie still meta as intended? Yes. So by those circumstances, I will say that Scream 3 succeeded in what it was trying to do. Until next time, this is Josh from Muscle Shirt Productions.